Good morning. Florida, so we're going through somewhat of a tropical storm-like weather bands coming through this morning. But I wanted to talk about pussy and the perceived energy that men have or get from it. An observation of mine. Recently, it was just actually Friday night. I was with my business partner. We were talking, and this is something I see often, but talking with him that night, and then other things that have happened in the past, and other conversations I've seen with men in general talking about this, is that when you talk things about either business or other issues of sorts, you might have one or two bits of you feel excited about the vision in the future. In some cases, depending on where you're at in life and how you feel about the subject matter, you can go on for hours talking about this. But I see that when it comes to women and the interaction that men have with women, more frequently than not, of course, is that men can talk about women for hours on end, repeating themselves, going deeper into talks and thoughts and how they feel and so on and so forth. And, when you talk about business, it's like, hey, listen, this gets kind of boring. It's a little bit more technical. Even though business and the way you conduct yourself on a regular basis in groups and with other people affect you more, or on a more regular basis or a larger portion of your life, I would say, than women do nowadays. Let me step back. I would say it affects me more, just because of my current mental state and capacity. So I'll narrow it down to me. Not to make myself right, but to properly frame what I'm talking about. And what I see is that my business has affected me more in terms of, getting women or dealing with women or having long-term relationships with women than me really focusing on women themselves. I learned that coming out of school, like high school and stuff like that, going into college, and then getting into business and everything like that, and starting businesses and doing stuff. And that's really affected me. I don't know if I can't really say an improvement of any sort, but it has changed, my priority, or female priority, to me, has gone down, and my priority to males, other males that assist me in business, has gone up. It weighs heavier with me, or it's on a higher point of priority or list on the list. And I kind of semi-judge some of my business partners based off of that. I talk about them all the time, and I feel that, they're very loyal men, and we work well together. But you can see, if you look at certain things that they would do outside of business and goes towards females, you'd be like, oh, okay, well, it's kind of different, kind of funny. And I see that, and I'm like, all right, well, that's all right, cool. See how that is. Nothing bad, but just some things that, and again, I weigh it because it's like, all right, I'll see that maybe their priority when it comes to women in some cases are a little bit higher on their list than my list. And that's kind of where I make the comparison. Not always bad. It hasn't been completely detrimental to business. But I have seen it where that certain business opportunities have been looked over that they possibly could have gotten into due to, like, relationships with women, like, like their wives, and be like, hey, listen, I can't invest in this because of this. And of course, it's family first. I understand that. So I look at this, and the reason kind of why it prompted this video is that I was having a conversation with somebody, and you could see that, we were talking about business. It was one or two things. We said this, we said that, and it changed. And then we changed the subject to women. And when we changed the subject to women, I noticed like an energy change. Like, not bad, but it would seem like, hey, more upbeat. We're talking, we're joking, so on and so forth. And it was almost like a subject that the person liked more. Like, it's kind of, okay, shit, well, talking about pussy now. So it's a little bit different as far as the response, because we were in the conversation talking business, and then next thing you know, we don't really talk much business. Next thing you know, we're talking more about pussy. And I'm like, okay, this is great. We're talking about pussy. And you joke around about it, but then I didn't notice how caught up I got into the conversation. Gotta talk about me, right? How I got into the conversation, I was just talking shit with him and just saying, one or two things back and forth, and we was just joking. Until later on, we had gone to, gone to Walmart. I had to go pick up some supplies for the salon. I had to go get like a table. And as we were walking in, you see, like, for all intents and purposes, a bad bitch. You know what I mean? Thick, black. She's, dark skin chick. More chocolate, if anything. And she's wearing like a one piece, and it's like, all right, cool. She's thicker than a motherfucker. You could probably tell it's either, I don't think it was, from the quick glance that I got of it, it wasn't really ass shots. I just went ahead and got a cart and walked past. I could see my homeboy, I could see the security guard all looking back, and I'm like, let me go get this table. Like, it wasn't even one of those things where I forced myself not to look. I just didn't care enough to look. Because if I would have felt that little scar on the back of her ass, you'd either feel where the fat transfer was, or maybe or if you would have felt the ass itself, you would have felt that it was a fucking ass shots. You know what I mean? Like, it just didn't look natural. So I wasn't impressed so much. But I wasn't to the point where, put it like this, my mind has changed when it comes to that type of stuff. And again, this is loose conversation. I apologize. There's no real point other than energy, change of energy. And I didn't notice it until then that, like, the energy changes when men start to talk about women. And it's more frequent, the change. Either it's going to bring, it's a higher energy. Whether it's a higher negative energy or a higher positive energy, it's a higher energy nonetheless. So they're going to get into a point where it's just like, oh, well, the whole bitches ain't shit conversation, or the, yeah, man, I got it, you know what I mean, or the, yeah, hey, listen, it's worked out, we're going good, this relationship is nice, stuff like that. But the energy changes in some way, shape, or form. And then when you talk business, the energy's a little bit different, and it's a little bit shorter. And of course, you see this a lot with black men, or I see this a lot with black men. I have also seen it with white men too, talking with them, depending on the environment and my relationship to them. I have a few white friends from childhood, but I don't really deal with them that much anymore. Not even the one that I think is still a neighbor. I think he's still a neighbor. Anyways, but you see the energy change, and I kind of question, like, why is that? Why does the energy change? Does it change for, honestly, the better in the long term? Like, I didn't notice until later on when my friend left that we didn't go over some of the points that we wanted to talk about, and that was my fault from a business perspective, because I got to take blame for not like saying, all right, boom, we're talking about this and that's it. You know, like, that was my fault. And I'm like, why did I wait till the end to talk about this? And it was quick, and I was like, hey, listen, just give me the price on that, bye. You know, like, it was real quick. And I'm trying to change that about myself, which is why, again, what prompts me for the video, because I do want to see change in myself in these terms, because I do want to move women to a lower priority, only because I just think when it comes to a long-term look at all this stuff and what society and the environment is showing me, or what I perceive, I should say, not showing me, but what I perceive that the society is showing me, it's not going to help me just to focus on women. It's not, and I don't think it's going to really help many men out there to just focus on women. And a lot of men are seeing this, and I've heard this on Hangouts before. They're seeing it, but you can tell the energy changes. You'll get on some Hangouts, and they can go hours upon hours upon hours about pussy, about women, about relationships, about cheating, about anything that attaches itself to sexual contact, sexual content even, and just their way in which they express themselves sexually and mating. And I can understand why, because, you know, we want to procreate, we want to have children. But is that energy well placed? Do you notice that in yourself? Do you see that that maybe the energy that's being put forward in these situations could be better used somewhere else? I've said this before, just if men would put as much energy as they do into pussy, into business, a lot of us would be millionaires. And I had talked to a friend. He was like, yeah, man, you know, we on this millionaire mindset. And I was like, oh, yeah, who? The guys in the group? He's like, no, man, me and you. And I was like, shit, I mean, I appreciate you putting me in that group or in that realm of thought. But, I guess maybe I am. You know, sometimes I do trivialize my own actions. But I guess I am. So, you know, and he's like, you know, surrounding himself with certain people that are on the same wavelength in terms of thinking. And he's like, yo, listen, man, it's really refreshing to talk to certain people. And he was like, listen, I haven't talked to you in a while, but, you know, there's vision and there's sight. Sight is just looking at something, and it is what it is. Vision is looking at something and seeing what it was, what it is, and what it can be. And then there's listening and hearing. Hearing is, you know, it is what it is. Listening is what it was, what it is, and what it can be. And, you know, your thought process, putting that through a whole mental filter, sieve, if you will, or whatever. And we were just talking about that and politicking a little bit, and we were going back and forth about stuff, and he kind of prompted this video where it's just this energy that we're putting towards women, relationships, spouses, what have you. Can we use that energy somewhere else? And can that energy put us in a different tax bracket, mental state, geographic location, which tax bracket, mental state, you know, that can go hand in hand depending on how you want to live and what you want to do. But I mean, this can, all these, just that mental state change. We all know that once you change your mind, you can change your reality. You know, I could tell you that there's a unicorn prancing down the street, even though you don't see it. I can see it because of just my mindset. I don't really believe in unicorns, but hey, I could. Anyways, starting to lose track here, but appreciate you.